Jesus was born in Bethlehem to fulfill Old Testament prophecy. The coming of Christ was part of lots of prophecies, part of God's covenant with his people. It was no accident. In Bethlehem, Rachel was born. Rachel was buried, was Jacob's wife, and she was buried in Bethlehem. But Bethlehem is also where David is born. Bethlehem is where Samuel anoints David to be king. Bethlehem was where Ruth and Boaz were married, and from them descended David. The Messiah was to be of the lineage and house of David. And so, of course, he's got to be from Bethlehem. And so you and I are part of this sacred history that goes back century after century after century to Bethlehem. And it goes back before that to Abraham and Sarah. And so we prepare for this great feast of Christmas. And we have all of this stuff that's been handed down to us. And so much of it looks like nothing at all on the outside. And maybe you've wondered about, Christmas trees and presents and poinsettias. I still don't know where poinsettias came from. It's probably just because they're pretty. Let me tell you a story about maybe how to understand all of this stuff coming together in this great event of Christmas. One December, a young woman named Kathy was having a baby shower. And her family and friends had gotten together at her home to give her all these presents. And when she got them all done, she then noticed there was one more box. Except it wasn't wrapped in shower paper. What color is shower paper? I don't know. Blue or pink. Okay. Hers was covered with Christmas paper. Bright red and gold. Well, it looked like Christmas, not a shower. And she opens this box up and lifts up this patchwork baby quilt. And trying not to hide her disappointment, I mean, it was with family and friends all around her, she just really didn't want to let them see what is this? And then she notices there's a note in the bottom of the box, and so she puts the quilt down and picks up the note and starts reading it out loud, not knowing it was meant to be private. And it was from her mother. And her mother says, I put this together for you. And you'll notice that it's made up of patches of material from all sorts of things throughout your life. There's a little square that came from your baby blanket. There's another little piece of fabric that's pink and frilly from your first dress. You'll find a piece of fabric from your prom dress, too. You'll find a piece of my fleece bathrobe that I often held you with when you were a child, and that you would insist I wear when I read to you so you could have your face on that fleece. There was a piece of her father's flannel shirt that he would wear when she was a teenager, and that she still used sometimes after her bath. There were pieces of one event after another in her life. And so she realized that her mother had made this with a lot of love. And all of a sudden, that very ugly baby blanket, baby quilt, was one of the most beautiful things she'd ever seen. And it came about because her perspective changed. It wasn't about whether it was pretty or not. It was about what it meant. And that's how Christmas works, too. It's this patchwork of traditions that the church has put together over centuries, and it helps us to understand who we are and where we're from. And we have all of these biblical traditions that come together at Christmas. We have all sorts of Trinity Church traditions come together at Christmas as well. I haven't been in a parish that holds up a red stocking and calls it a silver stocking. I've never done that before. I mean, that's really different. We have all sorts of traditions that come together in this fascinating patchwork, and we call it Trinity Church. And so we have this great feast. And Christmas, you know, it's just not really about niceness and about pretty things. It's about blood and sweat. It's about God who made man and woman from the dust. It's about God using a 14-year-old girl in a backwater province of a minor province of the Roman Empire. And she says, "Be it unto me according to your word." She is obedient to the call of God. And we're hopefully obedient as well. And God can use all of that, all of those traditions for his glory and for the building up of the kingdom of heaven. Pope John Paul II wrote in his Christmas message 10 years ago that Christmas is not simply the remembrance of an event that took place 2,000 years ago. It's really about a living reality that is repeated every year in the hearts of believers. He wrote, "The mystery of the Holy Night, which historically happened 2,000 years ago, must be lived as a spiritual event in the today of the liturgy. The Word who found a dwelling in Mary's womb comes to knock on the heart of every person." Every one of us. And so at Christmas, there is this question that presses at us. Will Christ be born in you, in your heart, in your lives? Will you begin to hear the Word made flesh and bear it in your soul? Will you? And so on Thursday night, bring your friends. Fill this place up. Let's blow the roof off. John would love to see that, by the way. But let's have a glorious Christmas because God has prepared one for us. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.